Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, your go-to source for all things Rocket League, with your hosts K-Cube, Quilly, and Red. So lean forward, lock in, and get ready to go Boost Over Ball.
It's going to be a solo episode today. It's just me hanging out, talking some RLCS. We're a little bit late this week. Normally record on Tuesday nights, but if you're catching me live right now, it's Thursday night. This episode will go live as soon as we're done recording here. But I was traveling for work. I had to, I'm from Eastern Michigan, from the Detroit area. I drove to Western Michigan, then in Chicago, and then I was going to be back Wednesday night, but got caught up in a snowstorm. For people in the Midwest, that snowstorm that rolled through, I ended up having to emergency stop at a hotel last night, and here we are today. So the timing didn't quite work for Quilly or for Red to join us, to join me tonight, so it's just going to be me. So here we are, solo ep. Probably be a little bit quicker, but we got a lot of RLCS to catch up on, so looking forward to talking with all of you and catching everybody up. So without further ado, hello and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle, K-Cube, and I'm by myself today, as I mentioned before. But on today's episode, we'll be talking about RLCS being back again. Open number 2 has started, although all the open qualifiers except for NA have happened. We know the top 8 for MENA, but for the rest of the regions, we know the top 16. So we'll be talking about what to expect from each region, which teams made it, which teams didn't, what I kind of think is going to happen, what to look out for, and kind of a little bit of a preview, points-wise at least, for teams fighting for one of those Boston major spots. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the RLCS action, starting out with EU. So like I said, starting out in EU, the teams that are going to be making the top 16 from Group A are Gentle Bench, Vitality, Carmine Corps, Gentlemates, GK, Wild, Game Ward, and Dreifach Reset. And from Group B, we have Man City Esports, Ninjas in Pajamas, Team BSK, FN, WIP Esports, Magnifico, Thanos, and Selecao. Kind of going through some of the Swiss results. Gentle Bench and Team Vitality are your 2 3-0 teams from Group A. Some of the Gentlemates people tweeted, man, all of our bench players just go crazy. Gentle Bench drops 2 games to GK and are able to take down Carmine Corps in 4 to drop Carmine Corps into that 3-1 group. But a great showing from Gentle Bench, and for people who are kind of unaware, Gentle Bench is 3 players that were benched from Gentlemates who are either in contract purgatory or what, but that is Yujin, Radosin, and Mitzer. So congratulations to them for making that. In our 3-1s, we have Carmine Corps, Gentlemates, and GK. Carmine losing to Gentle Bench, Gentlemates losing to Vitality, and GK also losing to Gentle Bench. So Gentle Bench with a tough run. They beat The Last Dance, which is K-Dop's team. They beat GK and they beat Carmine Corps, which is why their Buchel score is higher than Vitality, because Vitality only beat one team that is in the top 8. So our 3-2 teams are going to be Wild, Game Ward, and Dreifach Reset. Game Ward is a team that maybe you're familiar with me talking about before, but that's Astral, Mozzarella, and Rusty's, the former Team BSK roster without Pisky. They've added Astral instead, and they make a top 8 in Group A to move into the group stage. And moving over into Group B, our 2 3-0 teams are Man City Esports and Ninjas in Pajamas. Man City is able to take down X, FN, and RST, only one top 8 team, and Ninjas in Pajamas is able to take down GHT, MDN, and Magnifico, and again, only one top 8 team. But this FN team, that is even Rizex and Scream, Scream a Croatian player, so this is kind of a newer roster to the top 16. But our 3-1 teams are Team BSK, FN, WIP Esports, and our 3-2 teams are Magnifico, Thanos, and Selecao. Selecao is Pluvo, Smashy, and Ever. Magnifico is still that Atomic Raziers and Tox roster that has performed very well. thus far. But, interesting group of teams that made it in. Some notable misses are Synergy, which is AJG and AJG Dorito and Rixie, with friend of the podcast Armonic coaching, and Novo Esports missing out, and that is Nico, Acronic, and Juke. So, notably, this is a Novo Esports roster that made a run to the semifinals in Open number 1. They looked, a little bit out of sorts in the kickoff land, but, for the most part, they did the unexpected and they got that reverse sweep against Man City. They beat Gentle Bench. But, it's weird to see them not at least in the top 16. So, they end their run in round 5 to Magnifico after also dropping games to Thanos and MDN. So, moving into our group stage, and it kind of, at least to me, Group A looks like a little bit of a gauntlet, right? So if Carmine Corps win their first round matchup, and if Ninjas in Pajamas win their first round matchup, they will play together. Gentle Bench could play GK in the first round. So kind of a couple heavy hitters, teams that you might expect to make the top 8, kind of clashing right there. But at the end of the day, I would imagine Gentle Bench, GK, Carmine, and Ninjas in Pajamas to come out of Group A. On the Group B side, we have Man City, if they win their match, playing Gentle Mates, and we have Team Vitality if they win their matchup, most likely playing Team BSK. So Vitality with a pretty seemingly easier run to kind of get through this upper bracket into the top 8, and Man City. So I would imagine Man City, Gentle Mates, Vitality to kind of make their way through pretty easily. Although Man City or Gentle Mates will have to drop down to the lower semifinal after, because they'll have only one team can win there. But I would imagine maybe Wild will be joining, or Whip Esports will be joining those 3. But a bit surprising again to see Gentle Bench and Man City both topping their group. I mean, Man City had a great showing in the EU Open 1 regional, making it to almost beating Carmine Corps, and then unfortunately getting reverse swept by Novo. But a lot for them to build on. It's a good young roster. Edgeby, Acro, Tempo, they certainly play with a lot of flair, a lot of downfield plays. It's very exciting to watch. So hopefully they can continue the success that they had in their last Open, because I would certainly love to see them in Boston. We'll have to wait and see on that one, especially now that we get 5 EU teams because of the Carmine Corps win at the kickoff LAN. But this weekend is going to be the conclusion of this EU Open, right? So we have our group matches on Friday, and then the playoff bracket on Saturday and Sunday. Our Open qualifiers for NA are going to be this weekend as well. So we're going to be filling out our top 16 teams, or our top 32 teams for the double Swiss bracket, which will also happen this weekend. So by the end of the weekend, we will crown a EU, MENA, SSA, SAM, OCE, APAC champion, and we will have a top 16 for NA teams. So moving into our next region here after EU, and that is going to be OCE. So for OCE, teams coming out of Group A are the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, Turkish FC, Miami Metro, Lethal Esports, Wildcard. I'm sorry, that was the Open number 1. Coming out of Group A, we have Power, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, Batman on Wheels, BDS, RTT, Karma Esports, IT, and Yeah Bruv. And out of Group B, we have Team Freeze, Wildcard, Take Flight, Miami Metro, FAC, The Babysitter, You Not a Champ, You a Clown, and Chopped Unks. So in Group A, our 3-0 teams are Power and Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Our 3-1 teams are Batman on Wheels, BDS, and RTT. And our 3-2 is Karma, IT, and Yeah Bruv. On the other side in Group B, our 3-0 teams are Team Freeze and Wildcard. Our 3-1 teams are Take Flight, Miami Metro, and FAC. And our 3-2 teams are The Babysitter, You Not a Champ, You a Clown, and Chopped Unks. So, kind of what you expect out of a power roster. They're kind of it seems like they're starting to find their footing. That's Gus, Fiber, and Super Lucky. You also have Wild Card, Torsas, Banana Head, and Fever, kind of also making that that 3-0 spot, not the top spot in their group because of Buchholz. That top spot in Group B is Team Freeze, which is Big Rooster, Chubb, and Matthew. So a great showing from them, who are currently 6th in OCE points. But it's because Wildcard got a forfeit in round 1, I believe. Yeah. But nevertheless, a good showing from Wildcard, a good showing from Power. That's kind of the two teams that you've come to expect coming out of OCE, which is now a one-team region. So I would like to mention that it's going to be even harder now to solidify your spot. Every match matters so much, especially because they're only sending one team. But looking ahead to our group stages, and it kind of looks like Power and Wildcard both being in Group A, it looks like they should have an easier path into the top 8 through the upper bracket. They won't have to play each other. They don't have to play any of those other 3-0 teams from the Swiss bracket. And Team Freeze and Take Flight also in similar situations with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So they will Take Flight could potentially have to play the Bulldogs in the upper semifinals, but it will depend on how they go in their first round. But I would imagine Power and Wildcard to certainly make it through out of Group A. But it's kind of a 2-team region is what I would say. I mean, in the final for Open 1, we had Power taking down Wildcard 4-3. So if you get a wild card win, then they're going to be even on points heading into the final Open, which I think for watching purposes would be awesome. We will have an official RLCS broadcast for OCE for this Open, which is awesome. I believe that CJ is going to be leading the charge or helping to lead the charge on that one, so that's super exciting for them. Great to see. I mean, OCE Rocket League is a lot of fun to watch, especially in region, so I'm glad that they will be having a official broadcast and not kind of some scuffed like player perspective or team stream broadcasts that we've had so far. So it kind of seems like it's about time that's going to happen. But it's like I said, it's a one-team region, so every Open means so much more, right? So if Power is able to win, then they'll take kind of a commanding. They'll take a lead of 10 points heading into that final Open, so they'll need to just finish top 4, I believe, to secure that win. So they would need to finish more than 10 points behind Wildcard in that final event, which I think would be a little bit difficult for them to do. But moving on from OCE, we will head into the other hemisphere. Still in the southern hemisphere, though, we'll head over to SAM. And our teams from the double Swiss in Group A that will be coming out are Nova Drift, Furia, Alix, Amethyst, Emerald, Sanificados, No Time, and Fear of God. And in Group B, we have Sanguinitos FC, MIBR. Again, I did it again. That's Open number 1. Man, I wish it would just load to the right page. That'd be really cool. So from Group A, it is Furia, Amethyst, Timesin, 3-Point Shooters, Bendelorios, Choromax, Chinatown, and Fear of God. And from Group B, we have MIBR, Team Secret, Enosis Esports, Dream Esports, Nova Drift, Sanificados, Aura Farm, and Sunset. So in Group A, our 3-0 teams are Furia and Amethyst. Our 3-1 teams are Timesin, 3-Point Shooters, and Bendelorios. And our 3-2 teams are Chromax, Chinatown, and Fear of God. And over in Group B, our 3-0 teams are MIBR, Team Secret. Our 3-1 teams are Enosis Esports, Dream Esports, and Nova Drift. And our 3-2 teams are Sanificados, Aura Farm, and Sunset. So, first and foremost, Aura Farm is a pretty good name. It doesn't rival some of the OCE names that they have, because those are some very interesting ones. But moving down into our group stage, it kind of looks like Group A is going to be the easier one this time around, as Furia and Team Secret seem to have kind of a free path into that upper bracket, where Amethyst and MIBR probably are similar in Group B, but will have a little bit tougher competition. But, for me at least, it kind of seems like this is more, it's really Furia's region to lose at this point because, they just kind of take talent from other teams when it doesn't work out for them so much. And, this Furia roster has done pretty well at FIFA E. Brazil looked good, and that's just the Furia roster. So I would imagine that they're able to take kind of some of that momentum and then put it back into Sam to win another event here. That would be my guess. But Team Secret, especially MIBR and Amethyst, look to be hot on their tails and try and do what they can to try and button up that second region spot. That would be my assumption. I think Furia will have that first seed locked up here. If not after this event, after qualifying for the top 8 in the next one would be my guess. But nevertheless, a good showing from our 3-0 teams, Furia, Amethyst, MIBR, and Team Secret, as they will look to kind of capitalize. But to me, it really appears like it's those 4 teams, and then kind of a bit of a gap, and then everyone else. So again, good luck to all the teams so far. We will forge on to our next region, and that being MENA. So MENA's a little bit ahead because they will finish up on Saturday. They do not play on Sundays during their opens. So we have our teams that have made the top 16. We have our teams that have made it out of groups. We have a top 8. Tomorrow is the upper quarters and lower bracket round 1, and then Saturday we have lower quarters, semis, and then the grand finals. So our teams making the top 8 or top 16 from Group A: MMA, Twisted Minds, Sleeping, Team Stallions, RBC, HTR, Extinguish, and DOS. And from Group B we have Falcons, R8 Esports, Alyom, W, Anabi, Alashi, Echoe, DFN, Hasta La Vista, Buried, and Nothing. So, what you kind of don't see is ROC. After losing one of their members, they did not. Redemption Esports, I believe, would be, I think is what would have been. No, it's not. It's not the same thing. I thought it might be. The logo was very, very similar, but it is not them. So our 3-0 teams in Group A were MMA, Twisted Minds. Our 3-1 teams were Sleeping, Team Stallions, and RBC. And our 3-2 teams are Hunter, Extinguish, and DOS. And in Group B, our 3-0 teams were Falcons and R8. Our 3-1 teams were Alyom, W, Anabi, Alashi, Echoe, and DFN. And our 3-2 teams are Hasta La Vista, Buried, and Nothing. So moving into our groups, which we do know the results of, MMA and R8 Esports qualify through the upper bracket from Group A, and Nothing and Extinguish from the lower bracket in Group A. And in Group B, we have Team Falcons and Alyom, W, Anabi, Alashi through the upper bracket, and DOS and Twisted Minds in the lower bracket. So a little bit of a story here. Monkey Moon's controller disconnects, and Twisted Minds have to forfeit their series against Buried. That's the upper bracket quarterfinals, the first round matchup. So they drop to the lower bracket where they sweep HTR and they sweep Stallions to move into Group B. So moving into our playoff bracket, I believe that because of their dropping to the lower bracket, I think it's possible that Twisted Minds and Falcons could play in the semifinals instead of the grand final. Now, this is a very big result because Twisted Minds did win Open 1, and so knocking out, Twisted Minds or Falcons, whoever, ends up losing that series, potentially in the semifinals would give the eventual winner, assuming that it would be one or the other, it would give them an even bigger points lead and would require, a lot less of an effort in Open 3 to qualify for Boston. They're going to send 2 teams. I would imagine it's these 2, but it kind of opens the door a little bit for one of these other teams that have made a top 4 by, Falcons or Twisted Minds getting knocked out in the semifinals, if that is indeed what happens. But Falcons almost fall to DOS as well. in the group stage. I kind of don't really know what to make of Falcons right now. So they sweep through, perfect sweep through the Swiss bracket 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, and they play three teams that are in the top 8, and they handled them all very well. And then you get to the playoff, and they end up winning game 5 3-2 to kind of move into the upper semis where they sweep Stallions. But the Drolley move for TRK was hyped up to be a big upgrade. Drolley considered to be one of the best players in the world. I haven't seen it. I don't know if the playstyle doesn't match. You have the former Falcons roster of the Twins and TRK almost winning FIFA E, making a final there. So I'll be interested to see, because it certainly seems like Twisted Minds has their number, at least early in the season, winning a Saudi E-League, winning Open 1, and Monkey Moon kind of not getting the nod for FIFA E. Maybe that's a little bit of extra fuel that he needs to continue his recent run of form, and to continue Twisted Minds' dominance of Mina so far this season. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. And I mean, we've talked about it before, that it's rumored, and there's some rumblings that the RLCS World Championships again are going to be 2026 in Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. So we've seen we've seen it before, where a poor or underachieving season for Monkey Moon, and then a World's win at Dickies in the US in 2022. Kind of a poor, underperforming season, and then a World's win at Dickies in 2024 in Texas. A kind of a poor season last season with Vitality, not really what they were wanted or what they were expecting in Europe, and then potentially a 2026 World's win at Dickies for Monkey Moon again. So, I mean, really, it's unfortunate that it's so predictable. The scriptwriters maybe need to do something a little bit different. Who knows with that one, but we'll have to wait and see. But I personally think the Twisted Minds will be able to take this one. So, next, moving over into our next region, being APAC, our second to last region here. Coming out of the double Swiss, out of Group A, we have Project Dela Cruz, Ground Zero Gaming, Sailing Esports, North Star Gaming, Big Dogs, Zing Z Shooters, Retirement Home, and Inarizaki. And in Group B, we have Kinotrope Gaming, Godspeed, Bear Claw Gaming, Goblin Barrel, J Chicken Esports, Kanoko Soup, Reunited Unks, and Overlooked. So our 3-0 teams out of Group A are Project Dela Cruz and Ground Zero Gaming. Our 3-1 teams are Sailing Esports, North Star Gaming, and Big Dogs. And our 3-2 teams are Zing Z Shooters, Retirement Home, and Inarizaki. And in Group B, our 3-0 teams are Kinotrope Gaming, Godspeed. Our 3-1 teams are Bear Claw Gaming, Goblin Barrel, and J Chicken Esports. Our 3-2 teams are Kanoko Soup, Reunited Unks, and Overlooked. So Project Dela Cruz is able to take down Kinotrope Gaming in Open number 1 in the final. I would imagine that the grand final is going to look very, very similar for this one. That it's either going to be Project Dela Cruz or Kinotrope Gaming, again fighting for this last Boston major spot. And another win here from Project Dela Cruz would really put them in the driver's seat for a Boston major spot, same as in some of the other regions like MENA and in EU or in SAM, like we talked about earlier. But it really seems like it will be either Kinotrope or Project Dela Cruz. It doesn't seem like any of the other teams in this region are really kind of up to their level. These teams have kind of worked their way through pretty handily through the rest of the region. So I would imagine it'll be one of those teams like I mentioned before. So we will have to wait and see what happens with that one, but that will also be taking place this weekend, so they will crown a champion this weekend. So the last region that we have to talk about here today is SSA, Sub-Saharan Africa. And our teams making it out of the double Swiss from Group A are Pioneers, Amapiano, Death Cloud Esports, White Rabbit Gaming, The Punishers, Bro Crocos, Rounds, and Project One. From Group B, we have Synthesis, Five Fears, Looking for Organization, Astronic Esports, The Wave, Unity, Strive Esports, and New Dog Old Tricks. So our 3-0 teams from Group A are Pioneers and Amapiano. Our 3-1 teams are Death Cloud Esports, White Rabbit Gaming, and The Punishers. And our 3-2 teams are Bro Crocos, Rounds, and Project One. Moving over into Group B, our 3-0 teams are Synthesis, Five Fears. Our 3-1 teams are Looking for Organization, Astronic Esports, and The Wave. And our 3-2 teams are Unity, Strive Esports, and New Dog Old Tricks. Notably missing Cristobal Colon. That's a team that we've kind of seen around. Team 10, another one that we've kind of seen around the past couple of seasons, hanging around this top 16, top 8 region. But with the 2/3 majority rule, it has shaken up a lot of these old rosters, and we see a lot of SSA talent emerging on Pioneers. You have To Die For and Sweaty playing alongside EU Lewis P, and Five Fears has Snowy and Guns alongside fellow Spaniard Tech Oz. So those are kind of the two teams to look for, in my opinion, in SSA this season, as they played in the grand finals in Open 1, and Pioneers was able to take that in Game 7. But looking ahead into our group stage, Pioneers, Five Fears, Looking for Organization, and Synthesis seem to kind of have, I don't want to say free, because that's like discounting some of the other teams that are in there, but like maybe a little bit of an easier run into the upper bracket, through these groups. But in reality, I really think it's, again, going to be one of Pioneers or Five Fears. I think that they just have more talent and have some of the better local talent on their roster, so they will come out ahead. But if, again, the winner of this one, if Pioneers is able to take it, they will be 10 points clear of Five Fears heading into Open 3. This is a one-team region. They're going to send one team to Boston. So, these teams are trying to do everything that they can to secure that spot. And if Five Fears are able to win, they will be tied heading into Open number 3. So everything to play for and a lot to lose for these teams. They both need to have good showings in both the groups and the playoffs. Making a grand final is kind of the minimum, in my opinion, that either of these teams should expect. So we've gone through all the regions. We've talked about, the Open number 2 as much as we know so far. Like I mentioned, this weekend will be the Open qualifiers. They start tomorrow for NA, lagging a little bit behind, but they don't want to put everything on the same day like they did for the kickoff LAN. So the NA Open number 2 will conclude on the 25th of January, which is going to be a week from Sunday. So this weekend is the Open qualifiers, and then the following weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, will be Open number 2. So we will be back with you guys probably next Thursday as well, doing another recording and an episode drop on Thursday, the 23rd or the 22nd. Again, I'm traveling for work, and that's really the best time that we'll be able to do that. So by that time, we'll have Open number 2 winners for every region except for NA. So we'll go through and talk about those, talk about where everybody stands, and then we'll kind of do a preview for the NA Open number 2 that we'll get to watch conclude next weekend. But before then, we got one more thing that we talked about in the last episode last week, and that was that Jinxie was picking up Rocket League. He streamed to over 100,000 people playing Rocket League. The Rocket League category was trending on Twitch. He played his 1v1 against Musty, and in the first game that they played, Musty scored, and 18 seconds into that game, Jinxie scored his one goal to technically win the first match 100-1. Jinxie started with a 99 goal lead, and so Jinxie is able to win. His reaction was hilarious. He was jumping up and down and screaming, and a lot of people were a little bit upset and Musty. Not a great showing from him, but they ran it back and they did it a second time, and Musty was able to win 100-99. He scored 100 goals consecutively before Jinxie could score one in that second match. So I guess maybe congratulations to both of them for, to Jinxie for scoring and for Musty for, regaining and winning that second round. So I feel like they probably should have done a third, but that would have taken a while. But it really does seem like Jinxie is enjoying the game. He said this is a game he actually might grind. He was really enjoying it and was curious at how long it would, how long people thought it would take for him to get to SSL. Musty said if you grinded the game every day, 2 years. Jinxie seemed very surprised by that, so I'd love to see him pick the game back up and keep grinding it. Right now, he's on that Red Dead Redemption 2 grind that he's working through right now. But I'd love to see him come back to Rocket League. It certainly would help grow the game a little bit more, bring in some new players. I don't know necessarily that I would say revive the game, because I don't think it's dead. It's definitely not the same player base as before, but you have a very hardcore fan base and a pretty stable group of people that watch your esport, that continue to watch the content, that continue to play the game. And so there's a lot that can be done about that, but I think you're really missing kind of some of the casual player base, the players that'll kind of jump on and play a couple of games or play with friends or something like that. There's been a lot of people that I've talked to out and about in the world that oh, you play Rocket League, I see the stickers on your car, the stickers on your water bottle or whatever, and I used to play a lot with my friends, and I was just a platinum or a diamond, and we don't really play so much anymore, but it was a good game. I really enjoyed it. I just don't play anymore. So the lack of new content, the lack of new things in Rocket League, the lack of bringing some of the casual player base back is kind of been an issue. So maybe someone like Jinxie streaming Rocket League more will bring people into that. I would hope so. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But it was even if it was just a one-time thing, it's a great thing for Rocket League. It's great to see somebody that high profile picking up the game, and especially with the way things are going. Maybe somebody could convince him to come to Boston, because I think he would really enjoy watching RLCS action. I know that he's trying to stream every day for his second year in a row. So maybe if somebody like Tenacity was doing some streaming at the event, that maybe he could convince him to come and co-stream with him. I think that would be a very interesting event. And Tenacity and Jinxie, kind of Tenacity did some coaching, and they were streaming together. Tenacity hosted a watch party for the game. There's some relationship there, so I'd be interested to see kind of if anything can grow from that. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But there's, like I mentioned, it was a solo episode today. It's gonna be a little bit shorter because of that. We don't have any give and take, any repartee from someone else on this one, but we had to get this episode out there tonight. There's been Rocket League that's happened that we haven't covered yet, so we'll be back at you guys next week again, probably Thursday, recapping all of the opens, and hopefully we'll have a full strength lineup. At least we'll have 2 people for the next one, so we'll kind of make up for this shorter episode then. But in the meantime, thank you for listening to me yap, for dealing with the solo episode. I still enjoy getting in front of the mic and talking some rock, even if it's just to myself. But can't wait to get back into the swing of things now that RLCS is fully back. Can't wait to head to Boston, which is a little over a month away. There's a lot of Rocket League to happen between now and then, and I can't wait to watch it. We can't wait to talk to you guys about it, and we can't wait to bring you everything Rocket League and RLCS until then. But with that, I would like to thank all of you so much for listening. I'd like to remind everyone that this podcast is proudly brought to you by our name level supporters on Patreon, Alyssa B. Please remember to rate the show 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, share the show, tell a friend. It all helps us grow our audience and improve the show. We're really trying to grind some content. I will continue to reiterate it until it happens. I'm going to make a YouTube video about this event with fan reactions, with interviews, with all of the content that we're able to get. I that is something that I've always wanted to do for an RLCS event, and I now finally have the equipment to do so. So if I keep telling all of you, hopefully you will hold me accountable so that I can continue to do that, because I think that would be very fun. RLCS always makes a cool hype video, so I don't know if I'll be able to beat to that standard, but man, I would certainly love to start somewhere, right? So start my video editing journey, start my content grind that way. I would love to share that with all of you. But also remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Twitch, which we're currently live recording on right now. And come join our Discord. Come talk some rock. Come talk some ball. Have some fun. Make sure to support us by checking out our merch store and our Patreon. This is how we fund the show and do giveaways. All of these links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. And from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website, boostoverball.com.